I have a lot of cousins, and I think we're the only ones from my mom's side that both our parents are Iraqi, pretty much. And like the older you get, you really just appreciate that, because our parents always told us how amazing it is to be Iraqi, but I think we needed to find out on our own, and I think you did as well, probably. Like, you read and you investigate and you speak to people, and I think what it's for me as an Iraqi Jew is we kind of embody all cultures. I think that's what it's about. And we're like, it's just so amazing to me how, our parents were for me, it's like almost violently uprooted. I think a lot, not that it was easier for anyone who stayed in Iraq. Like, I love Joe Dabi's book, and you read their stories. It's heart-wrenching because they stayed there, and it was even almost worse. But it was so terrible what happened. But the fortitude of just going to Israel and literally going to nothing. I just want to share a quick story that my dad told me about my grandfather. His name was Raphael, and Raphael was like a homeopathic healer in Iraq. And they didn't care if you're Jewish or not Jewish. Whoever came was healed. You had money, you didn't have money, it didn't matter. You're a person, you're a soul. It doesn't matter about you. We love everybody. And I think that embodies what our religion is about. Just love, just teach love, teach goodness. We're supposed to be a light. So Raphael, they went to Israel, and it was really hard. There was food rations, and people didn't have enough food. It was super hard. And what he would do was, in those days, they would transport grain on the trains. They only had trains. And the grain would fall off the trains, and he would go behind the trains and pick up the grain and sift the grain and feed it to chickens. And then he would have eggs, and he would sell the eggs. So someone would tell him in the market, Raphael, even if you double the price, I'll buy from you the eggs. He didn't double the price. Because that's the love. He just wanted to help people. And even my uncle told me now, he said they would scream at him, what are you doing? We want the eggs. We need the eggs. How many eggs do we need already? Help people. And to have that attitude of an abundance mindset and not like a fixed, like, oh, it's not enough. The pie is limited. No, the pie is unlimited. That's what this world needs. And I think we're part of the solution for what's going on in the world right now to actually heal the world. So I commend you all for being here, and thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So thank you Sharon and Nathan Kahal Joseph for this wonderful and this Static Education Center for welcoming me, and thank you all for being here. Now, the irony is, so many of you are Iraqi. So many of you grew up in Iraq, were born in Baghdad. So many of you know these stories better than I do. And the interesting thing, though, is it's my generation, second, third generation Iraqi, that now going back to the stories that we weren't told. I was just speaking to Joe over here, and he said that he only began telling his story when he began writing memoir, which was how many years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Only then did he break the silence he had about his background and his story coming from Iraq. And I often asked myself, why is it that all my grandparents were from Iraq? My dad was born in Baghdad. I grew up in Sydney, Australia, and I didn't know the story. I heard snippets here and there. I knew that Iraq was Gan Eden. Besides that, I didn't know much more. Sue, my wonderful aunt, used to say, we are royalty. I didn't understand it. I didn't even connect the Babylonian Talmud with where I came from and my family came from. And as I grew older, and I think going back to Jerusalem, not going back, I guess it was a bit of a return in some ways, since the whole family left Israel. And so maybe just for those who don't know the history, let me do a little recap about Iraqi Jews. Who are we? I guess that was my question when I started doing my research. And the truth is, there's no such thing as Iraqi Jews, because Iraq is such a new country. It was only established in 1923 with the English mandate when they they put King Faisal as the king, and they created this modern country, Iraq. Before it was Mesopotamia, and before that it was Babylonia. And we know that the Jews went to Babylonia after the destruction of the first temple. So when you speak about Jews from Iraq, those are the Jews we are speaking about. Jews who came from that exile. And the truth is, as one wonderful Iraqi woman I interviewed in Tel Aviv, because that's what I do, I'm obsessed, and that's why even speaking to you here tonight and hearing your stories about how you came from Iraq and you went to Israel, and you went to Singapore and Bombay, and these were the countries you came from as Baghdadi Jews, is wonderful for me, because that's all I care about now, is just hearing the stories. I'm my favorite place in the whole world amongst Iraqi Jews. It just gives me the greatest pleasure. And for those who aren't Iraqi, also welcome here, because we love sharing our story, which is why I'm here tonight. So what was I saying? So yes, she said, this wonderful woman, Shula Benjamin, she grew up in Baghdad, and she said when she tells people that she's a Babylonian Jew, she says to them, you are also a Babylonian Jew, because all Jews went through Babylonia with the destruction of the two temples. The Jewish center was Surah and Pumbedita. These were the centers of where the Jews went and survived, and then they went off to Spain and Europe. So the truth is we all have the same heritage, we all come from the same place, just some remained, which is the story of my family and many families here. So for me, when I started my research and I realized, okay, so we are an ancient Jewish community, and